Venus glows beautifully in Earth's sky, often called our sister planet because of its similar size and structure. But this resemblance is deceptive. Beneath its bright clouds lies a world so extreme that it turns the very idea of human survival into fantasy. If Earth is a carefully balanced ecosystem, Venus is what happens when planetary systems spiral out of control. Surviving the descent through its atmosphere would only be the beginning. The real danger starts the moment you arrive. The surface of Venus is a perfect killing machine. The surface of Venus is one of the most hostile environments ever discovered. Temperatures average around 465 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead and destroy most known materials. This heat never fades, not even at night, because Venus is trapped in a runaway greenhouse effect. Thick carbon dioxide clouds imprison solar energy, turning the planet into a permanent oven. There are no cool periods, no seasons, no safe hours. The pressure is equally devastating. Venus's atmosphere is 90 times thicker than Earth's. Standing on its surface would feel like being crushed under nearly a kilometer of ocean water. Your lungs would collapse instantly, and your body would be flattened before you could react. No spacesuit ever designed could handle these forces for long. Even robotic landers rarely survive more than a few hours. The air itself is poisonous. Sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and corrosive compounds fill the atmosphere. Acid rain falls from the sky, and the ground is littered with volcanic rock formed under unimaginable heat. Venus does not simply lack life-supporting conditions. It actively destroys anything that enters. Why dying on Venus would not be quick. Most deadly environments kill in a single way. Venus kills in many ways at once. Heat cooks you. Pressure crushes you. Chemistry dissolves your equipment. Even if technology protected you from one threat, the others would still end you. This is why scientists describe Venus as a multi-layered death trap. Unlike Mars, which is dangerous mainly because it is cold and airless, Venus overwhelms the human body on every level. Survival is not a matter of preparation. It is a physical impossibility. The planet is engineered by nature to be lethal. The strange zone where Venus becomes almost livable. In one of the greatest ironies in planetary science, Venus becomes more Earth-like the farther you move away from its surface. At around 50 kilometers above the ground, the environment changes dramatically. Atmospheric pressure becomes similar to Earth's. Temperatures drop to roughly 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. This is still extremely hot, but manageable with cooling technology. Radiation levels are lower than on Mars, and gravity is nearly identical to Earth's. This narrow atmospheric band is the only region on Venus where humans could realistically survive. It is not on the ground. It is in the sky. NASA's Havoc plan and the idea of floating cities. Recognizing this strange atmospheric window, NASA scientists developed a proposal known as HAVOC, which stands for High Altitude Venus Operational Concept. Instead of landing on Venus, humans would float above it inside massive helium-filled airships. These flying platforms would drift within the safe altitude zone, avoiding the crushing pressure and extreme heat below. The plan begins with robotic airships to study the atmosphere. Next would come a massive crewed airship more than 100 meters long. Finally, long-term floating habitats could be built, forming permanent research bases in Venus's skies. These would not be colonies in the traditional sense. They would be airborne cities, suspended above one of the most dangerous worlds in the solar system. How a Venus cloud habitat would actually work. Life inside a Venusian airship would resemble living inside a space station combined with a submarine. The habitat would need to be completely sealed, pressurized, and climate-controlled at all times. Outside, the environment would be corrosive and unstable. Inside, every system would need constant monitoring. Even at higher altitudes, Venus is unforgiving. Sulfuric acid droplets slowly eat away at metals, plastics, and seals. Over time, hull materials weaken. Protective coatings degrade. Tiny cracks can become catastrophic. A small leak could allow oxygen to mix with acidic gases, creating fire hazards and rapid decompression. On Venus, maintenance would not be routine. It would be a matter of life and death. A planet where time itself is broken. Venus behaves strangely not only in space, but in time itself. A single rotation of the planet, one full day from sunrise to sunrise, lasts an astonishing 243 Earth days. Yet Venus completes an orbit around the Sun in only 225 Earth days. This means that on Venus, a day is longer than a year. A paradox that has no parallel anywhere else in the solar system. The Sun would crawl across the sky at a glacial pace, hanging overhead for months before finally sinking below the horizon, only to leave the planet in darkness for equally long periods. For human beings whose bodies evolved around a 24-hour biological clock, this would be deeply destabilizing. Sleep cycles, hormone regulation, mental focus, and emotional stability all depend on regular light and darkness. Without strict artificial schedules and lighting systems, settlers would suffer chronic fatigue, confusion, depression, and cognitive decline. On Venus, even time becomes an enemy, quietly eroding the human mind. Micrometeorites and the danger from above. Venus's dense atmosphere shields the planet from large asteroids, burning them up long before they reach the surface. But it cannot stop everything. Countless tiny fragments, known as micrometeorites, still slip through the upper atmosphere at extraordinary speeds. Though small, they carry immense kinetic energy and can strike like high-velocity bullets. A single grain-sized particle could puncture a floating habitat's hull, creating a sudden leak in an environment where every breath depends on sealed walls. In deep space, micrometeorites are already a serious engineering concern. On Venus, the danger is magnified because escape and rescue would be nearly impossible. Repairs would need to be made instantly, often under extreme conditions. Even in the planet's safe zone, the sky itself remains a battlefield. The mysterious dark streaks in Venus's clouds. Venus's cloud layers are not the smooth golden blankets they appear to be from afar. Scientists have long observed dark streaks stretching across the planet's atmosphere, patterns that stubbornly persist despite violent winds that should have erased them. These markings absorb ultraviolet light in unusual ways, making them stand out against the surrounding clouds. Ordinary dust does not behave like this. Some researchers suggest the streaks may be caused by exotic chemicals such as iron chloride, produced by volcanic activity and atmospheric reactions, but others are not convinced. The streaks behave too consistently, too strangely, to be easily explained. Their resistance to dispersal hints that something unusual may be happening within Venus's clouds, something that challenges our assumptions about what kinds of processes or entities can exist in such a hostile world. The possibility of microbial life on Venus. Recent studies detected trace amounts of phosphine and ammonia in Venus's atmosphere. On Earth, these gases are produced almost exclusively by biological activity or industrial processes. Venus has no factories. This raises the possibility that microscopic organisms may exist in its clouds. If confirmed, it would transform our understanding of life in the universe. Venus would become proof that life can emerge even in extreme toxic environments. The planet may be deadly to humans, but it might still be alive in ways we never expected. Why Venus is more dangerous than Mars. Mars is cold and dry, but it is stable. Venus is chaotic. Mars threatens slowly. Venus overwhelms instantly. Mars allows long-term shelters. Venus constantly corrodes them. Mars is difficult. Venus is merciless. For future exploration, Mars is the safer gamble. Venus is the ultimate challenge. The final truth about humanity's most dangerous neighbor. Venus is a warning written in planetary scale. It shows what happens when climate systems spiral out of control. Earth and Venus may have once been similar. Today, they are opposites. One supports oceans and forests. The other is a furnace wrapped in acid clouds. And yet, Venus still tempts us, not as a world to conquer, but as a world to carefully observe from above. One day, humans may live among its clouds, suspended between space and fire, not as masters of the planet, but as guests in its skies. Venus may look beautiful from Earth, but now you know it is one of the most extreme worlds in the entire solar system, where even time, physics, and chemistry work against survival itself. From floating cities in the clouds to the terrifying possibility of life in acid skies, this planet proves that the universe is far stranger than we ever imagined. If you want to be smarter every day, like and subscribe.